In this video, we're going to learn about stem and leaf plots. This is probably a brand new concept, so at this time I'd like you to open the notes that were posted for you so that you can take notes as you watch this video. Like I said, this is probably a brand new concept, so we're going to start by talking about what a stem and leaf plot is, and then we're going to walk through the steps of constructing one using an example. So let's first look at our learning target. Our learning target is I can represent data in a stem and leaf plot. So that just means I can look at a set of data and I can show it in a stem and leaf plot. Still doesn't really give you a lot of information about what it is, so let's look at what it is. A stem and leaf plot displays numerical data, that just means data that's represented as numbers, to show its shape and its distribution. Basically, that just means to show how those numbers are spread out. Each numerical value, or really each number, is separated into a stem and a leaf. The data is organized least to greatest. So let's look at what that looks like, and we're going to look at the steps to create a stem and leaf plot by walking through an example. So here's an example. The chart below shows the total points scored by a middle school basketball team for their first 12 games. Show this data in a stem and leaf plot. So the 12 scores are 22, 26, 24, 34, 23, 22, 28, 20, 32, 36, 40, and 41. So using this example, we're going to go through the steps of creating a stem and leaf plot. First, you put the numbers in order from least to greatest. And as we put them in order, we're going to cross them out on the chart so that we know that we got them all and to make sure we don't use any numbers more than once. So first we have 20, and then 22, and then 22, 23, 24, 26, 28, 32, 34, 36, 40, and 41. So the first step to create our stem and leaf plot is finished. Let's look at step 2. Step 2 says draw a T-chart and label the left side stem and the right side leaf. So we're going to draw a T-chart, and then we're going to label the left side stem and the right side leaf. And as the definition explained, a stem and leaf plot shows each data point separated into a stem and a leaf. So let's look at step 3 to see how we can separate the data points. Step 3 says separate each data point into its stem, which is the tens place in this case, and its leaf, which is the ones place. So we're going to separate each data point into a stem and a leaf. So basically we're going to divide the tens place and the ones place. So for the first number, we're going to divide it into the 2 for the 20 and the 0 for the ones place. Same thing with 22, 2 in the tens place, 2 in the ones place. And we're just going to go right along and separate each number into its tens place and its ones place, all the way until we get to 41. So we have now separated, and you don't have to write this out. You don't have to draw lines in between your numbers. This is just a visual to show you how we're separating the tens place and the ones place into our stems and our leaves. So we've now separated all of our data points into a stem and a leaf. So we're going to follow step 4, which is list each stem on the left side going down. So we're not going to repeat stems. So for 20, 22, 22, 23, 24, 26, and 28, the first digit, or the digit in the tens place, is considered my stem. So that's the stem of 2. So for 32, 34, and 36, we have a stem of 3 because we have a 3 in the tens place. And then for 40 and 41, we have a stem of 4 because there's a 4 in the tens place. So we've listed our stems on the left side going down 2, 3, and 4 because in all of my numbers, I either have a 2, a 3, or a 4 in the tens place. Let's look at step 5. Step 5 says list the matching leaves on the right side going across. So this can get a little bit complicated, so let's look at this. We have in the first number for 20, we have a 2 as the stem and a 0 as a leaf. So I'm going to write the 0 right here. So I did that first number. In the next number, we have a 2 as a stem and a 2 as a leaf. So we're going to put the 2 as the leaf. The third number, I have another 2 as the leaf, a 3 in the next number, a 4 in the number after that, a 6 in 26, an 8 in 28. So I listed all of my numbers in the 20s in this first row. This 0 represents 20 because I have a 2 as a stem. This 2 represents 22 because this 2 is the stem and the 2 is the leaf. So this 2 represents 22. And so forth all the way until you get to the 8. This 8 represents my 28 because I have a 2 as the stem and an 8 as the leaf. So let's move on to our numbers in our 30s, which has the 3 as the stem. So we have 32, 34, and 36. So we're just going to write the leaves next to the 3, which are going to be 2, 4, and 6. So 2, 4, and 6 represent 32, 34, and 36. The last two numbers I have are 40 and 41, and there's a 0 in the tens place and a 0 in the ones place and a 1 in the ones place for the numbers that have 4 in the tens place. So I have a 0 and a 1. So this 0 means 40. This 1 means 41 because they're next to the stem of 4. So now you can see I have all of my numbers written out in my stem and leaf plot. What this shows is that the basketball team normally scored within 20 to 29 points. Most of their games ended in a 20-something score. So this just shows they don't often score higher than 28 points, maybe even low 30s. So this shows how my data is spread out. It shows how it's mostly in the 20s. Now, pretend that in their 13th game, the basketball team scored an impressive 62 points. How would this change the stem and leaf plot? So we're going to look at the stem and leaf plot that we already created, and I added a 62. We already created the stem and leaf plot with all of this data, so it looks the same, except I just added the 62 on the end. So I'm going to divide the 62 in its stem and a leaf, and the only difference is instead of just writing a 6 in the stem column, I'm actually going to write a 5 first. Because the thing with the stems is you can't skip a number. You can start at any number you want, the lowest possible stem, but then once you go to the highest leaf, which in this case is going to be 6, you can't skip any numbers in between the lowest stem and the highest stem. So even though I don't have any numbers in the 50s, I'm still going to write a 5 here so that I can see when I create my stem and leaf plot, I have a big gap in the 50s. So I have my 6 as the stem here, and I'm going to add the leaf, which is 2. So now I've added a 13th data point to the stem and leaf plot because their 13th game, they scored 62 points. So this stem and leaf plot still shows that normally they score in the 20-point range, but in one game, they scored 62 points, which is a lot higher than their next highest scoring game because I have nothing in this 50-point range. So the steps to create a stem and leaf plot are all listed here. So you can take the time to copy this down onto your notes so that you have it to refer back to. You should also make sure that you've taken the time to copy the stem and leaf plot that we created in this example onto your notes so that you have a stem and leaf plot to look at. We're going to look at one more example, and this time our example is going to have 3-digit numbers instead of just 2-digit numbers. So the students in a 5th grade class went to Laser Quest. The table below shows their scores. So you'll see that there are 10 scores, all in the 500-point range. So show this data in a stem and leaf plot. So again, we're going to follow our steps, which is step 1, put the numbers in order from least to greatest. Again, as we put them in order from least to greatest, we're going to cross them out from the chart. So I have 510, 512, 517, 518, 521, 522, 524, 540, 541, and 545. So I have 10 numbers all in the 500s. Step 2, draw a T-chart and label the left side stem and the right side leaf, which is pretty simple. Here's my T-chart. I have a stem and a leaf. For step 3, we're going to separate each data point into its stem, and in this case, the stem is going to be 2 digits. It's going to be the hundreds and the tens, and then also a leaf, which is just going to be the ones place. So 510 gets separated like this, and 512, 517, 518, 521, 522, 524, 540, 541, and 545. So you'll see that they're all separated into a 2-digit stem and a 1-digit leaf. So we're going to next list each stem on the left side going down. So the lowest stem is 51 and the highest stem is 54. And remember, we can't skip any stems in between. So the lowest is 51, and then I'm going to add 52, 53, and 54 because 54 is my highest stem. Next, we're going to list the matching leaves on the right side going across. So the first leaf that I'm going to have next to 51 is the 0 for 510. Then we're going to have the 2 for 512, the 7 for 517, the 8 for 518. For the 52 stem, I'm going to put a 1 for 521, a 2 for 522, and a 4 for 524. I'm not going to put anything next to the 53 stem because I don't have any numbers or any scores in the 530s. But again, we don't skip stems when we're listing them down the left side. So I skip 53 though. I'm going to skip putting any leaves next to it, but I'm going to leave the stem there. And then we're going to look at the 54 line. I'm going to have a 0 next to 54 for 540, a 1 for 541, and a 5 for 545. So this is a stem and leaf plot for 3-digit numbers. Any 2-digit numbers, you'll put stems as the tens place and leaves as the ones place. But if you have a 3-digit number, you'll most likely use the hundreds and tens place for your stem and the ones place for your leaf. So I hope these examples helped you a little bit understand what a stem and leaf plot will look like. The next video is going to talk about how to read a stem and leaf plot and how to answer questions about it.